death is frightening and dying just as bad. Say what you will, we don't take it well. Then how can we live with all that ahead? Something must be fooling us constantly. Our brains are tricked so that we don't believe. For whatever reason, we won't go on and on. Our thoughts are clouded so that we can't conceive the exact process that's waiting for us. Or perhaps we think that when the moment comes, someone else will arrive to take over. We'll survive. Where logic is concerned, we're all thumbs. How couldn't we know we were born to go? They said it was all good, the way that things were, but you were very young and said they were lying. They said it was for the best. The suffering was all over. You were older now, and the best seemed not very good. They said there was nothing more they could do for you. Good, you said, old enough to know the way things were. You can use death to achieve goals in life. For example, you can kill people for hire. On the other hand, you can try to save people for hire and get paid whether or not they die on you. On a larger scale, there's the funeral industry, equipment for making war, pharmaceutical products for keeping us alive, safety measures that leave you injured but not dead. All of these are vital goods and services and therefore quite lucrative. All of them are based on death or the threat of death. Death's reality. The food you need so that you don't starve. The very air you breathe and the water you drink, which need to be held to standards of deadliness. It costs plenty to keep us from killing ourselves, and in the process, millions of people gain a very comfortable living. Despite its drawbacks, death can come in handy. Sometimes it may even seem all the world lives on death. Countless memories are stored in your brain. Sometimes they rise up again and again. Sometimes they just stay deep in the fleshy darkness. Eventually, you yourself become only a memory that either rises up again and again, or remains deep in the brain of another. Only after everyone who ever remembered you is gone for good and all, does the terrible insanity that once bore your name achieve a true oblivion. Goodbye. On some days it's so hot. On other days it's so cold. Hot, hot, hot. Cold, cold, cold. Finally, the word goes out for you to settle down in your narrow bed where you will be comfortable forever. After you're gone, you instantly begin to fall behind those who survive you. As the days pass, new things happen to those survivors and also in the world. After you're gone, you can't keep up with the latest events. You're out of touch. So you fall behind farther and farther, left in the dust while others charge ahead. They asked for you on the phone, but you didn't take the call. They sent you a nice letter, but you didn't reply. So your name was dropped from one list after another. No one wants to bother with somebody who can't be troubled about a very special one-time offer with a money-back guarantee. No one has the time to go looking for you over every inch of the earth. There are plenty more people than there were at one time, and plenty more are coming. It's as if something inside them is always screaming in an urgent voice, more, 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 more. Or maybe it's like waiting in line. Everyone feels better if they see more are behind them than in front. That makes sense, you think, as you make your way forward and soon find that you're next. Only one way to arrive that swollen body, yet so many ways to leave. You could spend your whole life counting those ways, thinking about them, but you can never know the way you will take until it takes you. It's very strange, that's for sure. One by one, over the years, they went their way. Each of them departed without much shout or show. As the group became smaller, you hardly noticed, until the day you asked, "Hey, where did they all go?" Sometimes, when all the noise dies down and you're by yourself, it's pleasant to think that no one is left in the entire world, that you are the last. Everything is over, and history is like a movie whose last reel has already spun its way through the movie projector with no more attractions to come, just a blank screen in an empty theater, just a clear blue sky over a quiet landscape. Nothing that ever happened makes any difference. There is nothing more for you to fret about, until you realize that eventually you'll have to join the others, that even though the world is gone, the biggest problem in the world still remains for you. Everyone says that the universe is a marvel, but you never thought that. Everyone says that life is well worth having, but you never thought that. What you thought was contained in a note pinned to your hanged body. Everyone thought that your hand was beautiful, but they never said anything. Where did you go? They looked for you. They looked everywhere. But even if they had looked for you over every inch of the earth, they would never have tracked you down. Yet only yesterday anyone could have found you at home or called you on the telephone. When it's all over, they sometimes say things such as before his time or perhaps too young. But the fact is this: everything happens because its time has come. And the last thing that happens to you will always be on time. No one is too young. Nothing is premature. Everyone, including you, is right on schedule. It's true. Staying around here can be so very hard, really very hard. Getting up every day and tying your shoes and eating your food, you go to bed at night and sleep your sleep and dream your dreams. Then another day comes and another night goes. It never seems to stop, yet going can be hard too, really very hard. Limited options indeed. Even after a person is gone from this world, people often tend to remember birthdays. They say, "Today is the birthday of someone who would have been so many years old. So just in case you're not around next year, happy birthday." People go in who then come out. People go in who never come out. In, out, in, out. It makes you wonder, will this be the last place for me? Well, probably. Whoever you are or think you are, whatever you've done or imagine you've done, a tubercular poet, a syphilitic musician, a mad philosopher, and many others, whose voices were always only echoes, echoes that are still reaching you, who are still thinking and still imagining who you are and what you've done. It doesn't matter if you were 100 or 63 or 7.5. However old you might have been, whatever mark you made will be erased. Things don't last. When you're gone, you are gone, and that is that. It might seem that something stays, that some part of you still casts a shadow. It might seem a lot of lunatic things, anything except the actual case. The world closing up that tiny space where you used to be. It closes so fast. The number of people who have been born is the same number of people who have died or will someday die. The equation is perfect and must remain so. Because if the balance of the born to the dead should ever be off, if even a single person who has been born shirks the common destiny, how could you stand to live with such monstrous figures? You meant to take care and put your affairs in order, but the unexpected occurred and there wasn't time. Later, the loved ones came and gave away some things, while putting aside some others, keepsakes or valuables. They cried over an old comb that still had some hairs twirling through its teeth. Yet they laughed a little too. Then someone uncovered what you left in the attic. "Oh dear," they said softly, and went home to forget you. In order to get things done, it's essential to have pain. Without it, nothing could be. But we're so easily fooled. No one praises hunger, yet everyone likes to eat. Little pains and big pains, they keep you living, however much it may hurt. And when it comes to dying, you want your epitaph to read, "He never knew what hit him." You wake up so frightened because in the dream you knew it was all over, the end. Even if you aren't bothered by this idea when you're awake, it's still there in your mind. And so you dream it's all over, no more, the end of you forever. You wake up so frightened. When it finally does happen, it probably won't be like a dream. At least you sincerely hope not. The thought of oneself dying and never waking up again can drive a person to suicide. Whatever events may lead to that last moment, the finale is always the same. Simple heart failure. And all the time you thought that life was so complex. It's just the beat of a drum. Thump, thump. It was always your sincere intention to understand it all before it all ended. But your intention was thwarted. So many things took your time away. You can only wonder what a few years of focused reflection might have gotten you. Maybe they would have helped ease the panic before it all ended, and maybe they wouldn't. They said it would be over. You were sure the end was near, the dread of being so sure. Yet they turned out to be wrong. It wasn't going to be over, not with that kind of certainty, but you had tasted how it felt to be so sure that it was all over. Now the dread of uncertainty. If only you hadn't listened to them. If only you had no ears to hear and no mouth which to taste. You descend the staircase in the darkness alone and pause before taking the last step. Behind you in a room upstairs, your own voice cries out, an impossible sound. Lights turn on and people rush about the house without seeing you there on the last step. The excrement of life, the purgative of death, why not relief? Why only pain, pity? Before you existed, before anything existed, nobody knows what existed. This was a long time ago. Then something happened that started other things happening, and later on you happened. This was not so long ago. Someday it all may all stop, or it may never ever stop. Start, stop, start, stop. Nobody knows how long. Millions of years, billions of bodies. Some are where they last fell. Some are where they were put. Some are buried, some were burned. Some are scattered in little pieces. Billions of bodies, and then yours. Fallen, burned, buried, or in little pieces. All sorts of paths can lead to all sorts of places, yet every place ends up as the same place. This is the place where the paths are feeding you. It's not the path, but the place it goes, if you didn't know. You lay in the bed, an arm full of tubes, a mind full of drugs, but still thinking. You see the figure enter the quiet room, and you lift your arm and focus your mind. You ask the doctor if it can be arranged that your last day not be your worst day. When you're on your last legs, whether you're confined to a bed or screaming in a crashed-up car, many things may occur to you. Something that won't occur to you, either confined to a bed or screaming, is that it doesn't matter what you did or didn't do during your existence. You won't think, that's done with, so why get excited at this late stage? Perhaps there are a few who may think this way, but they are rare exceptions. If only we could all think in this manner, it might make up for what went before, canceling out the chaos of our lives and steadying us upon our last legs. Perhaps once in a while, or possibly quite often, it may strike you that you are not yet dying, not in any serious sense. You can seize the day, as has often been advised. No reason not to follow this bit of poetic wisdom, and to think of being alive much as you might regard some time off from work or a vacation from school, a carefree period of play. This may be a simple view, but what else can you do as you wait for the approach of that awful Sunday night before returning to the job or the last day of summer? Possibly you're the kind of person who doesn't save up for a rainy day, or worry about a bill left unpaid for a month or two, or even one long past due. It's not that you're dumb or lazy, anything like that, but you believe in things known by heart, not head. And these are what make tomorrow easier to take. This is how it is for you. All the years of your life, you've been assured that nothing will happen when you're on the brink to prompt you to think. The thought unthinkable. Things will still be there after you're not here. All of the trees, the traffic, those scenes from a play for which you didn't stay. It makes much more sense that when you are gone, the show won't go on. Still, you leave things behind pretty much as you found them, but never mind, you won't be around. Why should you have to live? We don't. Why should you have to suffer? We don't. Why shouldn't you have to die? We did. It's not that you didn't value your life, it's that you didn't sufficiently cherish their company to stay around and serenely wait until you were taken by an agent of horror or some idiotic, torturous misadventure. Hence the source of the devastation they feel, the imagined slight of self-removal from their midst. Your too meager regard is what hurt them most. Why can't they accept there are reasons why suicide is quite simply another way to die? It just isn't right, you might say, to be conceived like a science project. Chances are, though, you're more likely to say that even what's wrong is really all right. But right or wrong, say what you will, it's all the same if you say it or not. Certain memories are such that they torture you with the discord between nostalgic agitations and what is truly real. As an instance, take a sad song from former days. It may move you so much you could explode into the cosmos because those days are gone and you are proceeding to an end, always proceeding. Sometimes a sad old song can even make you break down and cry your eyes out. And for what? Nothing truly real, on that you can be sure. Your tears are dedicated to no more than some fleeting nonsense that has you in its awful grasp because you are proceeding to an end, always to a reliable, perhaps gruesome, end. Oh, what certain memories can do to the nostalgic spirit. They can really drive you crazy, not to mention they may even make you break down and cry your eyes out for some wretched, fleeting nonsense that always has you by the throat, choking you with its awful grasp. For the sum total of truth, you must go to the body. Forget everything else. The body can tell you all there is to know, if that's what you want. The intestinal system is especially brilliant. As a philosophical disputant, it is infallible, a real genius. One wave of cramps and you bend to its logic. Ultimately, though, the body cares nothing for your welfare. After confiding its wisdom, it takes off for parts unknown, leaving you a forsaken wreck by the side of the road. But that is the way of the body. You are bound to surrender to its most eccentric turns. In the end, your pleas are in vain. Whatever the body says, goes. And as it goes, so do you. Do you remember the dream where you lost the ground beneath your feet? The earth opened up and down you went, grasping at something to stop your fall. It was all so vivid, so precise, so real. How could you forget something like that? Do you remember the dream where all the wind went out of the world? You watched for it to start up again, but for lack of a breath of air, the clouds choked on nothingness, as did you. How could such a thing slip your mind? And what of the dream where you drowned, arms flailing uselessly in endless waters? Or the one of a fire that consumed the sun? You lost that dream too, didn't you? For even though each was so vivid, so precise, so real, they were only visions come and gone. How can you think when you're passing away as you lay in your bed, minding your business? Even the voices that call in the distance are so dim, so vague, and so unreal they fade. You have no hope of reviving your dreams once you fall asleep and never again. Wake. It's hard to leave this world by your own hand and in secret. One needs to be highly motivated, desperate for a change of pace from a life that has gone to seed. Of course, most sit back and wait for an end by natural causes, which really means a tussle with disease or suffering with an injury that left you beyond all hope of repair, and in pain so often it's simply not a good idea to stay for the whole performance. You need to get up and go before the worst descends, as you know it will, even if others press you to remain seated. The most crucial matter in this world is to offer those who wish an exit, a place to turn, a helping hand. You were not born by yourself. Why must you vanish that way? You entered this world because of two people who wanted you here, or perhaps they didn't. Either way, you arrived as though by some intent. Then along you went, going here and there, doing this and that, wanting what you wanted without ever knowing why you wanted it. Happy or sad you were, good or bad you were. Either way, they got what they wanted. They always do, because of two people, and perhaps because of you. The honest truth is this: nobody wants to suffer. Nobody, nobody, nobody. But what choice is there? A conspicuous case in point is the imperative of teeth. First you suffer to get them, crying day and night. And after you get them, they just fall out, making room for more teeth to grow. Teeth that will need care, years of fastidious care, as if you needed that. A life of dental fixation. For among your other cares, you are bound all your days to service your teeth, and gums or face the consequences should you forsake your duty, the penance of the drill and the insertion of metals, to mention but a few of the passions you must endure to keep your teeth in your head. Nobody wants to suffer this. Nobody, nobody, nobody. So much time and cost, so much sacrifice for those choppers, so much enforced suffering, as if there were any other kind. Yet in the end, nobody will know the price you paid for your teeth. Nobody will see them as you lie tight-lipped in your casket. Nobody will know what you suffered for the sake of your teeth, even as they still suffer for the sake of theirs. Nobody, nobody, nobody. Dear Mom and Dad, I always wanted to ask, when you went through the motions that brought me to this dubious world, did you ever pause to think that I might rather you didn't? Were you so possessed you could not pause to consider the full repercussions of making it? Of course, it behooves me to extend the benefit of the doubt, to attribute to you some vague notion that you acted in my interest, saving me from my peregrinations in non-existence, a stranger to being, bumbling in darkness for the light of life on this earth. Such is a common rationalization, and so I must allow its hold upon you. Yet I must also posit that all you wanted was to be in with the crowd, the ancient mob that cheered you on with mad eyes, flared nostrils, and spittle-dripping chins, those ones whose approval you secretly sought. All of these are plausible explanations for what you did in a chamber cut off from cool reflection in favor of the primal right. Whatever your reasons, the fact remains of my emergence from that dilated aperture. Whatever your excuses, I must confess, I've always lamented the day you met. All that aside, I just wanted to take some time, having reached the moment in which I'll make an end to what you began, to say that I forgive you.